Thanks a lot, Matinka. Time to get growing with Hy-Vee's Jerry Kluver.
Yes, good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone out there. Happy May Day.
Thank you.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, it's never too early to shop for Mother's Day. And the garden centers are loaded and we're ready for customers. And the flowers are blooming, the grass is green. What more would you want? But let's get growing with Hy-Vee right now and answer these emails.
Sounds good. All right, let's start with question number 1 from Tonda in Manson. Jerry, what are the juiciest tomatoes to plant? Also, what is the best weed and feed to use in my yard?
We got 2 questions here, and no doubt I'm going to choose Jetstar. There's lots of good tomatoes out there. You want my recommendation, it's Jetstar. And the second question would be to answer is the Hy-Vee weed and feed, and put it on wet yard, especially in the morning when it's due, or come home in the afternoon, sprinkle the yard, put it on after a fresh mowing, okay?
All right, and Lucille in Toledo, what can I use to keep my rabbits from eating my tulips and marigolds?
Well, them little rabbits, them rascals, there are all kinds of repels out there, and I've got a product that I'd recommend called Repel, and sprinkle that around. You're probably going to have to redo that a little bit. The rabbits don't like it, and they'll leave your goodies alone.
Okay, Lori in New Sharon wants to know, I planted a yellow rose bush last summer. When I uncovered it this spring, there's very little green. I have fed it with rose food. Is there anything I can do to save it?
Well, she did go ahead and give it its first feeding. I'd say be patient. It's going to be judgment time here real soon that you're going to need to feed it again. But if it doesn't really produce here in the next 2 weeks, I'd go ahead and replace it. But other than that, feed it again.
Okay. Next question comes from Susan in Ankeny. She wants to know, we have planted several, oh my gosh,
Arborvitae.
Arborvitae. Thank you. That's why I have you here, Jerry.
That's no problem.
Evergreens. And my husband has tried everything he can think of to plant them correctly, but they die either the same season or the next, turning brown or rust. Any suggestions?
Very common question. Very common question. I would get the Miracle-Gro feeder out, and I would keep applying the Miracle-Gro every 3-4 weeks. It's probably planted in clay and probably maybe a little too wet right there. But you stay steady with the Miracle-Gro feeder, and there's all kinds of apparatus you can put on that, either the dry Miracle-Gro or the, the liquid feed. And you keep that on the Arborvitae, and that new growth is going to come right out. You watch.
Is it possible to over Miracle-Gro or
no,
overfeed your
every
plants?
3-4 weeks, and you're going to be fine. No problem at all.
Very good. All right, David in Des Moines. I planted mint in our flower garden, and now it's out of control. How do I get rid of it?
Well, mint can be controlled with the Roundup, and obviously you could take a spade and move some of that out of there so it doesn't get that aggressive. But use Roundup on it; it won't like it.
Well, okay. Now, is Roundup going to affect the mint that you have left if you want to use it in the kitchen?
Well, you want to be careful there. Use it after 20 days, yes.
After 20 days.
Yep.
Okay. Carol in Madrid has the next question. We have a trouble with a lot of tomato blight. We've been advised not to plant our tomatoes until June 1st. Our tomatoes start out beautiful and lush, but when the tomatoes start to grow, the leaves turn brown and fall off. What's the best way to get this under control?
Well, obviously that is blight, and I hope you have NutriCal, which is a liquid calcium to put on from the time you plant them, and really a nice multi-purpose fungicide called Funginel, either in a ready-to-use or concentrated form, through a nice dial-in sprayer, and use that about every 4 weeks, and you're going to see a big difference in the control of blight. And obviously, if you can, try to move locations in full sun with your tomatoes. Use that area, then next year move it back, and let's get ahead of that blight. It's a very common problem on tomatoes.
All right. Next one comes from Bob in Lakeview. What can I use to keep grass and weeds out of my asparagus bed without hurting it?
His answer is preen. Go ahead and pull that grass out, clean the weeds out of it, and use some preen on it, and you're going to be real successful. And then continue to fertilize it while it's growing.
All
okay?
Right. That was our last question that we had time for, Jerry.
Wonderful. Okay.
Man, we've just got so many questions. If you have a gardening or growing question, you can drop Jerry an email anytime. Just go to Hy-Vee.com and click on the Get Growing logo. He's going to be back next week to answer more of your questions. Thanks,
Have
Jerry.
a great weekend, everyone, and you too, Amanda.
Thank you. Happy May Day.